Graduates, Mr. Koga, faculty, staff, families, and friends, aloha and welcome to Waiakea High School's 41st Annual Commencement Ceremony. My name is Gayatri Godbole, a junior at Waiakea High School.
And my name is Leela Devine, a junior at Waiakea High School. We will be your mistresses of ceremonies this evening. Just as the end of the school year was unprecedented, the class of 2020 proves to be as well. They have remained resilient through this tough time, and tonight we celebrate that along with the rest of their achievements. Before we begin, we would like to thank the collaborating parties for the time and effort spent to make this production possible.
And now, we will proceed with this momentous occasion, honoring the graduates of the class of 2020. Please rise and join seniors Jared Antonio and Cameron Flores in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for the Star-Spangled Banner, performed by seniors Kobe Kudo and Seizun Ochi.
Please remain standing for the state anthem, Hawaii Pono'i, performed by Genesis Anderson Aitogi, Meleana Lavatai, and Lindsay Ray Yolwa. Lyrics are located in the commencement program.
Hawaii Pono'i, Nana'i Komo'i, Kalani ali'i, Keali'i, Makua lani'e, Kamehamehae, Nakawa e pale, Mekaihe, Hawaii Pono'i, Nana'i nali'i, Napua muliko, Napoki'i, Makua lani'e, Kamehamehae, Nakawa e pale, Mekaihe, Hawaii Pono'i, e kalahuie, o kauhananui, e uie.
Student activities have been one of the main factors in strengthening the class of 2020. Events like Homecoming Week, Senior Prom, and Senior Week would not have been successful without the leadership of students who are dedicated to the school. Individuals who earned awards for outstanding service to Waiakea High School are recognized separately in the commencement program. Thank you for all your hard work and dedication to Waiakea High School student activities. Students who have excelled academically qualify for an honors recognition certificate. These students have met the requirements for the Hawaii High School diploma, earned a cumulative GPA of 3.0, and earned and met additional requirements for one of the 3 honors programs, academic, CTE, or STEM honors. These students have a special notation beside their name in the commencement program. Congratulations to all of these students.
Students who have achieved a cumulative grade point average of 3.0 to 3.5 graduate cum laude, Latin for with honor. Students who have achieved a cumulative grade point average of 3.5 to 3.8 graduate magna cum laude, or with great honor. Lastly, students with cumulative grade point averages of 3.8 or higher graduate summa cum laude, or with highest honor, and wear a red cord signifying academic excellence. The names of the graduates who have achieved the highest honor of summa cum laude are listed separately in your commencement program. Congratulations to all award recipients.
At commencement, it is the duty of the senior who has achieved the second highest grade point average to give the salutation, Latin for welcoming address, from which the title salutatorian is derived. This year's salutatorian, Darren Nakoba, earned the second highest GPA of 4.2760.
Welcome, Principal Koga, Vice Principal Venzon, Vice Principal Toriano, faculty and staff, families of the graduates, and the class of 2020. My name is Darren Nakoba, and it is a great honor to speak to you all. I know this wasn't how we all expected our senior year and our high school career to end. As Post Malone would say, wow. This quarter was supposed to be the easiest, the one we just cruised through, one where we would await the celebrations, the attention, our commencement, and getting out of here, moving on to whatever future plans we had. But then, it was gone in a snap, just like half of the universe in Infinity War. Like some of you, I too remember joking, what if we don't return after spring break? We never anticipated this to continue. While less class time was fun at first, the reality of this pandemic really hit home. It isn't fair, but neither is life. It is what it is. Life will continue to provide challenges, and it is important in these times that we share a positive mindset and look at the blessings in our lives. First, we were able to attend school and receive a great education for the past 13 years. Not everybody has that opportunity. Over these 13 years, we created relationships and made memories that will stick with us long past high school. While our commencement may not be traditional, it is definitely unique and special. We get a drive-thru ceremony and a virtual televised commencement. This is truly a special graduation for a special class. In addition, we also get a story that nobody will be able to take away from us. Let us not define our coming of age as what we lost in the last few months, but reflect and truly appreciate what we have gained in the years prior. For us, this will not be the last curveball that we face. This will not be the last obstacle in our way or the last time life deals us a poor hand. Sometimes we feel like we want to run away, but we're running in circles. However, when we do encounter these challenges, it is important to look for the positives. It is okay to feel sad or upset or angry, but our story continues. When life knocks you down, it's okay to stay down for a bit. I'm sure throughout these years, there have been many times when it seemed like life was out to get you. Maybe your best friend moved away, or you got injured, or you didn't get the class that you wanted. I'm sure as we move on to the next chapter of our lives, there will be many more of such situations. But these events are temporary, and as we age, I've heard they will be fleeting. It is important that we don't stay down for too long. Dwelling over the negatives does little to increase our happiness. It is looking at the positive that will lead us there. With a positive influence, life can take on a whole new meaning. Being part of such a large class, we should consider it a blessing that we all that we have all these people that we can turn to. When things seem to be at a low, we have countless friends who we can rely on to bring us back to positivity and have us feeling like a rock star. Life seems to unfold with the right mindset. To close, I would like to say thank you to my family for supporting me and believing in me. They are the reason I am here today. Let us remember our roots, Waiakea Waina, Waiakea L, and Waiakea Intermediate, who allowed us to start growing into the people that we have become today. Thank you to the faculty and staff of Waiakea High, who have educated us, prepared us, and supported us through our final years together, and especially in these past few months. And finally, thank you to my fellow classmates, the graduating class of 2020, for making the high school experience an unforgettable one. We did it, guys. We graduated. And now, they always say, congratulations. All right.
Thank you, Darren. This year's commencement theme is The Best Is Yet to Come. This theme was chosen initially before COVID-19 as a positive outlook for the class of 2020. It has been said numerous times throughout the years that the class of 2020's vision is clear. It seems no one would have predicted the outcome of their senior year. With that, this year's commencement theme still stands strong. Despite being denied their final quarter, the class of 2020 continues to move forward and find light in these tough times. This evening, we call upon Waiakea High School's principal, Mr. Kelsey Koga, to recognize the achievements of the graduating class and wish them good luck as they begin their journey. We are proud to give a warrior welcome to Waiakea High School principal, Mr. Kelsey Koga.
Good evening, Complex Area Superintendent Kane Hailua, honored guests, families, state, national, and worldwide friends. And most of all, good evening, class of 2020. I realize hearing this now may be a little anticlimactic and definitely untraditional. You've already completed the drive-through portion of the ceremony, had your tassels turned, and as of right now, you are unofficial Warrior alumni of Waiakea High School. For weeks now, I've pondered over the message that I will be delivering to you. I wanted to ensure that you were given something special, something perfect. I wanted to ensure that you were given a keepsake that you will always remember. One that screams Waiakea High School and the class of 2020. Because after all, doesn't 2020 equate to perfect vision? So let's get the official stuff out of the way. Let me begin with the obvious, 31 valedictorians. Never in our history have we ever had so many students with the academic prowess to achieve at such high levels. 31 out of 334 earned a grade point average of 4.0 or higher. Strikingly, 154 of you, or 46% of the class, earned a grade point average of 3.0 or higher. 85 earned academic recognition diplomas. 61 earned career and technical education recognition, and 34 earned science, technology, engineering, and math recognition diplomas. Like many classes before you, following graduation, the class of 2020 Phoenixes will be attending prestigious colleges and universities around the country, including the University of San Francisco, UC Berkeley, UC San Diego State, Oregon State, Brown University, Washington University in St. Louis, Creighton, Southern California, and many more, while others have chosen to stay in-state and enroll into the University of Hawaii system schools and community colleges. We also have at least 10 students in the class that will be enlisting to defend our country in all branches of the armed forces. There are also at least 2 students that may immediately begin their career in professional sports. By examining the data that I just went over, it should be obvious to everyone how outstanding this class has been in regards to their academic and school accomplishments. However, this in itself is not what I believe to be the most remarkable attribute of this class. What is truly exceptional is their resilience and grit. Back at the start of this COVID pandemic, when traditional schooling shut down, I wrote you a letter. In the letter, I stated the following. In these unprecedented and unstable times, many of us adults forget how important and how special the senior year is. I've come to realize in all of this chaos that many of you await direction and answers for what seems to be an unfair hand you were dealt. Unfortunately, we don't have answers and can only plan and make decisions in hopes for the best outcomes. Unfortunately or fortunately, depending on your perspective, today signifies the best outcome. Drive-through diploma pickup with Hilo Waiakea Complex administrators and teachers supporting and cheering for you, and a virtual ceremony that is aired statewide in high definition and also streamed worldwide. I assure you, class of 2020, no graduating class of Waiakea High ever had any part of their commencement ceremony on its campus. You are definitely its first. No doubt we could easily call you the poor teen class or the class of quarantine. You may have been fortunate enough to have scheduled your senior luau and prom early, but you're definitely robbed of your fourth quarter, which usually includes every important senior culminating activity, including what all of you look most forward to, a traditional commencement ceremony. With all of that said, let me tell you how I saw all of you make lemonade out of lemons. I saw efforts by seniors who would not normally get involved and create masterpiece morning announcements and social media posts. I heard encouragement, positive words, virtual hugs, and every type of uplifting inspiration that I've ever witnessed before. What is even more inspiring, including today, I've yet to hear one senior in this class publicly complain or say anything negative about any opportunity they lost out of. Not one. Class of 2020, I will close with this story. I usually don't rely on athletic cliche in my commencement addresses. However, this year has obviously been different in every way. It is no secret that Waiakea High School football has experienced their share of struggles throughout the years. This year, our Warriors went winless. They came close to victory on a few occasions, but unfortunately fell short on the scoreboard. On one particular Saturday in what was about week 3 of the season, our boys got run over by our crosstown rivals, the football juggernaut that eventually became the Division I state champions. By game's end, our team had 104 reasons to be negative, bitter, and consider quitting. As an administrator, it broke my heart to witness the perfect storm of mistakes that took place during that game. Everything that could go wrong went wrong. At halftime, Athletic Director Correa and I asked Coach Azevedo if he wanted to forego playing the second half. He looked us dead in the eye and said, "My boys don't quit." We're finishing this game. The final score read 104-0. I heard no grumbles, no name calling, no blaming, no bad feelings toward the other team, just players who gave it their all and left it all on the field. The following Monday was nothing short of miraculous. The players called their own meeting, no coaches, no adults. Every single player, statistician, student trainers all attended. They put closure to the loss, made agreements, and moved forward. Quitting was never an option. Furthermore, a group of senior athletes that never played football before, baseball, track, and soccer players, decided that they would join the team to help. Again, quitting was never an option. It is called resilience, the ability to bounce back and move forward when adversity strikes, when failure is never an option. Our team and the lessons that they learned is a direct result of the leadership and grit that the class of 2020 exemplifies. Toughness, class, character, integrity, passion, and perseverance, the phoenix that rises from the ashes. That is the class of 2020. That is Waiakea High School. Never let anyone tell you any different, and never believe that we are anything less. We are Waiakea Warriors strong. So class of 2020, what do you have to say to all of this? I sure know what to say. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Koga. This year's commencement speaker is Kainoa Correa. Mr. Correa, a 2006 Waiakea High School alumni, attended the University of Puget Sound, where he played college baseball as an infielder. He coached collegiately for 8 seasons prior to moving to professional baseball, where he now serves as a bench coach for the San Francisco Giants baseball team. He is married to his wife, Brittany, and together they have one daughter, Avery.
Hello, class of 2020. My name is Kainoa Correa, and I'm a proud class of 2006 alum. I am incredibly honored to have been given the opportunity to be your class's commencement speaker. Before I get into my speech, I wanted to start off with a little story. The story takes place in the Waikia Elementary School library in 1996. At the time, I was an 8-year-old little boy who was the son of the Waikia High School baseball coach, and I loved baseball. There was only one small problem. I sucked at baseball, and to make matters worse, some of my classmates found it entertaining. One classmate in particular was especially fond of teasing me about my lack of skill. And on this day, that classmate and I were paired up on assignment in the library. As soon as he sat down, he said, "You know, the only reason you'll make the high school team is because your dad's the coach." I didn't respond. He repeated himself, hoping to get a rise out of me. "You know, the only reason you'll make the high school team is because your dad's the coach." Disappointed, I hadn't reacted. He got up and went to the restroom. Feeling upset and restless, while he was gone, I got up and headed to the pencil sharpener, and I sharpened my pencil. When he returned from the restroom, he tried his line again, and this time I reacted. I jumped across the table, and I held my freshly sharpened pencil to his throat, and I asked him to say it again. He decided he was done repeating the line at that point, and I decided at that point that I was going to prove him wrong. 7 years later, I made that high school team. 9 years later, I made the all-league team. 10 years later, I made the college team. And 24 years later, I'm sitting here as the youngest bench coach in the major leagues. So you're probably thinking, I guess that story's cool, but also wondering, why the heck did this guy just tell us this violent story? To explain the story's relevance, I first have to explain my process for writing this speech. The first thing I did when I found out I was going to give this speech is I called my dad and I asked him, "Hey, what should I say?" And he said, "Hey, I don't know, bro. Last year some guy played music. It was pretty good." Well, Dad, if you're out there listening, thanks for the brutal advice. After finding no help from my dad, I hopped on Instagram and I DM'd Kalai and Safia and I asked them what they thought their classmates would want to hear. They explained that it'd be great if I could talk about what life is like after high school and strategies I've used to be successful. Their advice was a perfect place to start, so I sat down and I started writing. I began to have childhood flashbacks and I remembered the pencil story. I laughed and I thought, how is that little guy with the freshly sharpened pencil become the bench coach of the San Francisco Giants? What strategies and characteristics allowed me to overcome the challenges I faced along the way? After giving it some significant thought, I landed on 3 major characteristics that not only helped me personally, but were also common amongst the successful people I've been lucky enough to work beside. The first important characteristic that I identified was curiosity. I believe we should strive to be curious enough to master skills well beyond the minimum requirements. As your class transitions from high school, so much in life becomes about meeting a certain criteria: test scores, credit scores, certifications. Because of that, we begin to spend so much of our time working to clear these hoops, and we miss out on mastering the skills you actually need to use. We are always inquiring about the least we need to do. We ask, what do I need to know? When we should be asking, how much can I grow? When I started out as a college baseball coach, the minimum requirements for the job were simple: a bachelor's degree, collegiate playing experience, a driver's license, physical ability to do the job, availability to show up at practice and games. I met the criteria and I got the job. However, when it came time to actually do the job, simply meeting the minimum criteria wasn't making our players better, nor was it leading us to wins. Because I'm a naturally competitive person, I wasn't pleased with the initial outcome. But more importantly, because I'm a naturally curious person, I wondered if I could improve my coaching skills. My curiosity made me wonder, is there a better way? Why do some teachers and coaches consistently get better results than others? If those successful coaches possess certain skills, could I as well? This curiosity drove me to broaden my understanding of concepts like motor learning, skill acquisition, data analysis, and human movement. This curiosity led me to sharpening skills like practice planning, graphic design, and video editing. In my current role, I use a couple of these skills every day, whether it's working through charts with our analysts, designing our practice schedule, showing a visual aid in a team meeting, or instructing on the field. The fact of the matter is that my current role is completely built on a skill set I was curious enough to master and has nothing to do with the minimum requirements of my original role. Maybe in the last 5 minutes, I fooled you guys into thinking I'm smarter than I really am, but that is not the case. And a bigger mistake would be to assume that we need to be especially gifted to master a valuable skill like I did. Mastery does not require some sort of genius. All it requires is the curiosity to investigate if there's a better way and the time and energy to acquire and practice that better way. Proof that we are all capable of mastery comes from a study done on the brains of London taxi drivers. In London, taxi drivers aren't allowed to use GPS. And because they can't use GPS, they have to memorize all of London's 25,000 streets. Scientists have studied the brains of these drivers drivers, and they found out that the part of the brain responsible for spatial memory, called the hippocampus, had grown in all of the taxi drivers. This is significant because it shows that although these taxi drivers, just like the class of 2020, come from different backgrounds and possess different levels of intelligence, all of their brains had adapted, formed additional connections, and grown in order to complete the task their job requires. This shows us that we're all capable of skill mastery, but only if we are curious enough to raise the level of the task that we expect our brain to complete. In short, mastery requires an internal motivation that exceeds external expectations. Mastery is the difference between the dull pencil I arrived at the library with and the sharp pencil I left with. The second characteristic I identified for this speech is humility. I believe success requires someone to be humble enough to continue to work while they are waiting. When I first spoke to those seniors, they mentioned I should talk about the big moments and opportunities that are to come next for the class of 2020, especially since this class has spent so much time waiting with uncertainty for quarantines to end and this current crisis to be resolved. But the fact of the matter is that the big moments in life come randomly and go just as quickly as they arrived. And in reality, the bulk of life is spent waiting, just as you have been for the last 2 months, unknowingly building up to potential future big moments. To capitalize on those moments in the future, you've got to be humble enough in the present to acknowledge that you aren't a finished product and be motivated to continue to work while you're waiting. A Roman philosopher named Seneca said, "Luck is when preparation meets opportunity." So often people want to talk about opportunities, fretting over them, complaining about a lack of them. However, if what Seneca said is true and luck does equal preparation plus opportunity, then we should shift our attention away from opportunities and move them to preparation, because that's the only part of the equation we truly are in control of. To me, the key to preparation is leveraging your current resources. And in a time of such economic and financial uncertainty, it's important to note that preparation can come with little to no cost. For example, when I was humble enough to realize I could improve my abilities as a coach and first set out to master those skills I previously mentioned, I did so simply by observing successful and experienced people, searching on Google, reading Wikipedia, and consuming social media, all for the cost of a data plan, all without really having to leave my home. Some people might say that current generations are less prepared and less skilled because of the internet and social media, but I believe we have the potential to be quite the opposite. This generation has the most available resources to be more prepared and more skillful. In fact, thanks to the internet and social media, 90% of the data and information that exists in the world was created just in the last 2 years alone. That's ridiculous. 20 years ago, if you wanted to acquire a new skill on your own, you'd have to go down to the library and find a book. Today, no matter what opportunity you are trying to prepare for, you could do it by Googling a journal article, downloading a manual, listening to a podcast, and watching a YouTube video, all for free from the comfort of your home. Advances in technology have provided us with all the same access to a massive amount of information at our fingertips. So what preparation really comes down to is whether or not we are willing to devote the time and effort necessary. Preparation is heading to the sharpener when the other guy's in the bathroom. This brings me to my third and final characteristic. Courage. No, not the courage it took to violently jump across the table. I'm referring to the courage it takes to admit that what I did in the library that day was wrong. We should strive to be courageous enough to recognize and weaponize our weaknesses. You see, right after the moment in the library, I ran off to the bathroom and I cried. I was embarrassed at what I had done. This wasn't the first time I had done something like this, and it wouldn't be the last. It was part of a larger trend of me allowing my weaknesses to get the best of me. For my entire life, my anxiousness always had me worrying about what might go wrong and what people might think. My intensity always had me in a serious mood about anything and everything. And my competitiveness drove me to try and win or prove someone else wrong, regardless of the cost. Even well into my coaching career, I'd consistently have moments where my anxiousness, intensity, and over-competitiveness would create friction with coworkers, bother players, and rub opponents the wrong way. Eventually, I had to come to the realization that having weaknesses and insecurities were not a disqualifier for success. They were just part of being human. Once I was courageous enough to realize that these things weren't something that needed to be hidden, that everyone had them, and that I was better off living with them, I quickly started to learn that I could also use them to my advantage. My anxiety affects me every day, but it also helps drive me to be vigilant, to be observant, and to be well prepared. My intensity is still permanently turned on, but it comes with attention to detail that is valuable in my profession. My competitiveness still shows up every chance there's something to be won or lost, but it also is the same trait that fuels the teams I've coached to be resilient and charismatic when the odds are stacked against them. Humility led me to keep working while I waited for opportunities, and curiosity led me to master skills along the way. But it was my weaknesses, anxiety, intensity, overcompetitiveness that were the key ingredients from the beginning. They're what drove me to commit the time and energy to allocate my strengths in an effective way. My strengths may have aided me, but my weaknesses were the true driving force behind my success. So, in closing, it's important to acknowledge that this class has lost a great deal, from senior seasons to proms to a normal graduation ceremony. However, I can assure you that the opportunities that lie ahead will drastically outweigh those that have been lost. Those seniors ask me, what comes next? But the real question is, when next does come, were you curious enough to master the right skills? Were you humble enough to prepare while the world waits in limbo? Were you courageous enough to acknowledge your insecurities in a time of uncertainty? Thanks for listening, class of 2020. I wish you all the best of luck. Just don't forget that life after high school is just like the Waiakea Elementary School library. So you better keep your pencil sharp.
Tonight, the seniors say their farewells to Waiakea High School and the teachers and parents who have supported them through these years. It is the duty of the senior who has achieved the highest grade point average to give the valediction, Latin for farewell address, from which the title valedictorian is derived. An outstanding leader in academics, this year's valedictorian, Haruna Tomono, earned the highest grade point average of 4.3270. It is with great pleasure that I introduce Haruna, the class of 2020's valedictorian.
Principal Koga, Vice Principal Venzon, Vice Principal Toriano, faculty, staff, families of the graduates, and Waiakea High School's class of 2020. My name is Haruna Tomono, and I'm honored to speak to you all on such a momentous occasion. Around this time, 4 years ago, I remember sitting in the covered courts by the PE rooms, wearing those blue or purple shirts for the last time. We took photos with our friends for the obligatory Instagram post. And we walked across the street or stood along the ramp to wait for our parents to come. The excitement we had for the summer and the 4 years ahead. We had heard so many stories about high school, the homecomings, variety shows, sports, clubs, teachers, and even the work. But most importantly, we were excited for the freedom to wear whatever we wanted, the freedom to choose our own classes, the freedom to join a new sport or try a new hobby. We would finally stash those blue and purple shirts in a box of memories and do what we wanted. We were released from the confines of middle school. On the first day of freshman year, we walked into the gym with confidence, backed by the first of many personalized outfits. No more color coordinating turquoise t-shirts that could never truly match any shade of denim. This was the life. However, we quickly learned that with freedom came temptation. Throughout the next 4 years, we would push the boundaries of our dress code, some more than others. Several of us learned what would happen if we let ourselves get taken away too much by our wants. Some wore graphic tees with designs a little too graphic, or shorts cut a little too short for school. Others discovered ways to work around our dress code with jackets and hoodies. This temptation grew beyond just our appearances, especially as we started getting our driver's licenses. With a car, we could go anywhere. To the beach after school? Of course. Getting food to make ourselves feel better after a hard test? Most definitely. Skipping a practice we should have gone to? Occasionally. Leaving campus early to ditch a class? Perhaps. The uniforms were replaced by choice. Licenses offered greater freedom, and tougher decisions were demanded of us. Each of us have been tempted by our wants, and we have all made decisions, whether good or bad, under those desires. Now we are at another pivotal moment. 4 years ago, we exchanged our uniforms for a little more choice. With a turn of a tassel and a drive past the bus ramp, we are now alumni of Waiakea High School. We have turned in 13 years of school for a diploma and a pass into the so-called real world. Just like choosing the perfect outfit for the first day of freshman year, we will make our decisions on how we are showing up for our future. Many of us have already begun making that choice. Should we stay on the island or venture out of town? Get a job or continue at school? Deciding on what college to attend, what branch of the military to join, or what company to work for was the first of many. Some of us might prefer the easier decisions, like choosing an outfit for the first day of school. However, our diplomas symbolize the confidence our families and teachers have in us to make the right choices for ourselves. These choices will pave our paths, leading us in many directions. We will face an even greater battle with temptation. But this time, we won't have Mrs. Urasaki to warn us about our attire. Auntie Pua won't be there to stop us from ditching our responsibilities. The watchful eyes of our families, keeping us in line to make sure we get things done, it too will gradually diminish. Of course, the freedom and independence we are all about to experience is beyond exciting. However, we must remember that with choice comes responsibility. What will we do next? That is up to us. Make a choice to take a chance and be the change. We have chanted that throughout the school year. And now, more than ever, we must make a choice. We are the class of hope. We are the embodiment of our decisions made possible by the time, dedication, and hope our community has invested in us. We have been given the chance to shape our futures and make an impact. And this pandemic, it is our opportunity to make the first of many choices. Will we choose to wallow in sadness over the abrupt ending of our senior year? Or will we use this time to move forward and give back to our community? Congratulations, Phoenixes. Thus far, we have all made decisions that led to us being here, diploma in hand, ready to take on the real world. What an accomplishment. I hope we will take this insurmountable power given to us and make choices we will be proud of. Thank you.
Thank you, Haruna. Mr. Koga will now present the class of 2020 to the East Hawaii Complex Area Superintendent, Mrs. Esther Kanehailua, who will accept the class and offer a word of congratulations to the graduates.
Complex Area Superintendent Kanehailua, after careful review of the records of these men and women, I am pleased to report that they have fulfilled all the graduation requirements set forth by the Hawaii State Board of Education on behalf of the Department of Education. By authority as principal of Waiakea High School, I am proud to present to you the graduating class of 2020.
Principal Koga, as a Hilo Waiakea Complex Area Superintendent, on behalf of the Board of Education and the Department of Education, I officially accept this class as having fulfilled all requirements for graduation. Seniors, like the Phoenix, I have no doubt that you will rise and reinvent yourselves. Remember this year's theme: choice, chance, change. Continue to make choices that reflect all that you are and all that you represent. Take chances pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. And finally, be the future change that our island, nation, and world needs. Congratulations, Waiakea High School, class of 2020.
Thank you, Mrs. Kanehailua and Mr. Koga. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you have all been waiting for. We will now commence with the recognition of each graduate. Earlier in the day, Waiakea High School Principal, Mr. Kelsey Koga, presented the diplomas to the graduates. He was assisted by East Hawaii Complex Area Superintendent, Mrs. Esther Kanehailua, Waiakea High Athletic Director, Mr. Tommy Correa, and Vice Principals, Mr. Vincent Benzon and Mr. Travis Toriano. Leading the class of 2020 are the senior class officers.
President Kira Taylor. Kira is the daughter of Kimi Ogata and Tapu Taylor. Her future plans are to attend the University of Hawaii at Manoa, where she will be pursuing a degree in biology towards her goal of becoming a physician.
Vice President Ella Johnson. Ella is the daughter of Donna O'Hora and Tracy Johnson. Her future plans are to attend Tufts University, where she will pursue a degree in biology toward her goal of becoming a biomedical researcher. Tonight, Ella wears the stole and medal of the Nā Koa Po'okela Award. The Nā Koa Po'okela, or Warriors of Excellence title, is awarded to students who have best exemplified the ideals of Waiakea High School through their dedication to academics, leadership, community service, and strength of moral character. It is the highest honor that can be bestowed upon any graduating senior. Each of tonight's 4 honored graduates wears the stole and medal, identifying them as recipients of the Nakoa Po'okela Award. Ella is also one of 31 valedictorians for the class of 2020.
Secretary Mia Yanagisawa. Mia is the daughter of Penny Yanagisawa and the late Ken Yanagisawa. Her future plans are to attend San Diego State University, where she will pursue a degree in business marketing towards her goal of a career as a marketing executive. Tonight, Mia wears the stole and medal of the Nakoa Po'okela Award.
Treasurer, Jalen May Arzaga. Jalen is the daughter of Noemi and Rudy Arzaga. Her future plans are to attend University of the Pacific, where she will pursue a degree in bioengineering toward her goal of becoming a biomedical engineer. Jalen is one of the valedictorians for the class of 2020.
The valedictorian of Waiakea High School's class of 2020 is Haruna Tomono. Haruna is the daughter of Yumi and Daigo Tomono. Her future plans are to attend Washington University in St. Louis, where she will pursue a degree in biochemistry and molecular biology towards her goal of becoming a medical researcher. Tonight, Haruna wears the stole and medal of the Nakoa Po'okela Award. Tonight, Haruna gave the class of 2020's farewell address.
The salutatorian of Waiakea High School's class of 2020 is Darren Nakoba. Darren is the son of Lori and Daryl Nakoba. His future plans are to attend the University of Hawaii at Manoa, where he will pursue a degree in civil engineering toward his goal of becoming a civil engineer. Tonight, Darren gave the class of 2020's opening address.
We will now recognize the additional 27 valedictorians who have achieved a cumulative grade point average of 4.0 or higher and earned and met additional requirements of one of the DOE Honor Recognition Certificates.
Kiani Aburaman. Kiani is the daughter of Eileen and Scott Aburaman. Her future plans are to attend the University of Hawaii at Hilo and transfer to Kapiolani Community College, where she will pursue a degree in radiologic technology toward her goal of becoming a radiologic technologist.
Camille Alick. Camille is the daughter of Carmina and Dr. Wilfred Alick. Her future plans are to attend the University of Portland, where she will pursue a degree in biology towards her goal of becoming a pediatrician. Later tonight, Camille will be performing the Oli Ku Waiakea.
Emerson Anastasian. Emerson is the daughter of Tanya Yamanaka Anastasian and John Anastasian. Emerson will pursue her dreams to become an artist and entrepreneur. She plans on attending University of Hawaii at Hilo this fall, where she expects to focus on business and the arts.
Zoe Block. Zoe is the daughter of Tabitha and Barton Block. Her future plans are to attend University of San Francisco, where she will pursue a degree in environmental studies towards her goal of conserving our environment.
Miley Brilhante. Miley is the daughter of Tammy and Bill Brilhante. Her future plans are to attend University of the Pacific, where she will pursue a degree in biology toward her goal of becoming a doctor.
Karina Cook. Karina is the daughter of Sylvie and Ron Cook. Her future plans are to attend Creighton University, where she will pursue degrees in computer science and psychology.
Mari Ebersol. Mari is the daughter of Michelle and Jesse Ebersol. Her future plans are to attend San Diego State University, where she will pursue a degree in speech, language, and hearing sciences toward her goal of becoming a clinical speech pathologist.
Nev Enriquez. Nev is the daughter of Shelley Kwa Enriquez and Henry Enriquez. Her future plans are to attend the University of Hawaii at Hilo, where she will pursue a degree in nursing towards her goal of becoming an advanced practice nurse.
John Grover. John is the son of Rena and Micah Grover. His future plans are to attend the University of Hawaii at Hilo, where he will pursue a degree in chemistry toward his goal of becoming a chemical engineer.
Sydney Kim. Sydney is the daughter of Robin and Brian Kim. Her future plans are to attend the University of Hawaii at Manoa, where she will pursue a degree in mechanical engineering toward her goal of becoming a mechanical engineer.
Alexandra Kim Lee. Alexandra is the daughter of Sun Young Kim and Sung Jun Lee. Her future plans are to attend the University of California at Berkeley, where she will pursue a degree in political science toward her goal of becoming a diplomat.
Colby Kosaki. Colby is the son of Diane and Gerald Kosaki. His future plans are to attend the University of Hawaii at Manoa, where he will pursue a degree in civil engineering toward his goal of becoming an engineer for the Big Island.
Kobe Kudo. Kobe is the son of Gail and Timothy Kudo. His future plans are to attend the University of Washington, where he will pursue a degree in computer engineering. Tonight, Kobe performed the Star-Spangled Banner.
Kaylin Kunimoto. Kaylin is the daughter of Jody Lynn and Keith Kunimoto. Her future plans are to attend Idaho State University, where she will pursue a degree in pre-audiology toward her goal of becoming an audiologist.
Jonah Matsuura. Jonah is the son of Sonia and Andy Matsuura. His future plans are to attend the University of Hawaii at Manoa, where he will pursue a degree in civil engineering toward his goal of becoming an engineer.
Timothy Nakamoto. Timothy is the son of Joyce and Henry Nakamoto. His future plans are to attend Brown University, where he will pursue a degree in economics toward his goal of becoming an Air Force officer.
Jennifer Nakano. Jennifer is the daughter of Paige and Brian Nakano. Her future plans are to attend the University of Nevada, Reno, where she will pursue a degree in biochemistry toward her goal of becoming a surgeon. Jennifer is also the 2019-2020 Student Government Association Treasurer.
Masayuki Ohashi. Masayuki is the son of Mei Sun and Nagayoshi Ohashi. His future plans are to attend the University of California at Berkeley, where he will pursue a degree in mechanical engineering towards his goal of becoming a mechanical engineer.
Kayla Okazaki. Kayla is the daughter of Lori and Lester Okazaki. Her future plans are to attend the University of Hawaii at Hilo, where she will pursue a degree in political science toward her goal of becoming a budget examiner and analyst.
Dalen Okinaka. Dalen is the son of Desi and Ivan Okinaka. His future plans are to attend Central Washington University, where he will pursue a degree in aeronautics towards his goal of becoming a commercial pilot.
Stephen Rowe. Stephen is the son of Rose Delia Rowe and Joe Rowe. His future plans are to attend the University of Hawaii at Hilo, where he will pursue a degree in computer science toward his goal of becoming a software developer.
Cheyenne Roque. Cheyenne is the daughter of Neva Supe Roque and Hustward Roque. Her future plans are to attend the University of Oregon, where she will pursue a degree in biology toward her goal of becoming a dermatologist.
Marshall Rucknagel. Marshall is the son of Shane Rucknagel and the late Eric Rucknagel. His future plans are to attend the University of San Diego, where he will pursue a degree in biology toward his goal of becoming a preventive health researcher.
Lila Shapiro. Lila is the daughter of Thea and Daniel Shapiro. Her future plans are to attend Lewis and Clark College, where she will pursue a degree in environmental studies towards her goal of becoming an environmental science professor and conservationist.
Benjamin Vento. Benjamin is the son of Monica and Fred Vento. His future plans are to attend the University of California at Berkeley, where he will pursue a degree in civil engineering toward his goal of becoming a project engineer. Tonight, Benjamin wears the stole and medal of the Na Koa Po'okela Award. Benjamin is also the 2019-2020 Student Government Association Secretary.
Stacy Watkins. Stacy is the daughter of Veronica and John Watkins. Her future plans are to attend the University of Hawaii at Hilo, where she will pursue a degree in biology toward her goal of becoming a physician.
Samantha Yamamoto. Samantha is the daughter of Lei and Ed Yamamoto. Her future plans are to attend the University of Hawaii at Manoa, where she will pursue a degree in biochemistry toward her goal of becoming a physician.
Following the valedictorians is the remaining 2019 to 2020 Student Government Association officer.
Vice President Genesis Anderson Itogi. Genesis is the daughter of Jan Marie and Nathan Osorio. Her future plans are to pursue a career in the United States Air Force toward her goal of becoming an airman. Tonight, Genesis performed Hawaii Pono'i. Later tonight, she will also be performing Waiakea High School's alma mater.
Waiakea High teachers, Mrs. Lisa Kamalani and Mrs. Sarah Paloy, will now commence with the announcing of the name of each remaining graduate.
Pashlin Abele.
Dustin Aguiar.
Charity Ayava.
Kira Iwohi.
Jadelyn Alameda Iona Aka.
Kamaha'o Anderson.
Kayla Anderson.
Elin Andres.
Tejalyn Aninian.
Jared Gabriel Antonio.
Kiai Apele.
Giselle Arenado.
Sidira Archives.
Creighton Estrande.
Sergio Barron.
Alexia Bartolome Robinson.
Kupono Beck.
Chet Balaski.
Scott Bello.
Seth Bello.
Maya Burden.
Caleb Betancourt.
Kai Biegler.
Dakota Bergado Tavares.
Sage Blevins.
Kayla Bowman.
Tyler Brown.
Isaiah Carter Bundy Wong.
Jordan Cabango Lejano.
Tavia Kabatbat.
Caleb Karoas.
Keanu Kalapit.
Bryce Camacho.
Brooke Camaro.
Devin Capellas.
Elijah Carrigan.
Caden Carpenter.
Malia Carter.
Charity Ann Carvalho.
Dylan Carvalho.
Justin Castaneda.
Ace Castillo.
Jasmine King.
Jace Chai. Tonbi Chang.
Kyle Chase.
Kamuela Chow.
Tabrin Chu.
Haley Chun.
Jaden Nevea Clark.
Caleb Cole Cordero Caneda.
Ethan Obed Correa.
Cassidy Correa.
Andrew Cox.
William Crawford.
Devin Zerwanka.
Ha'alipo Denzel.
Anthony Davis.
Thomas DeQuato.
Karina De Pelez Shintaku.
Solomon Decker.
Kyler Dela Cruz.
Kekoa Danny Kini.
Kalia Ann Deshaw.
Brianna Diaz Escobar.
Bryson Doman.
Makana Dukason.
Dane Dupree.
Michaela Dirch,
Trayton Ellerin,
Mallory Enriquez,
Aisha Lynn Estrella,
Taylor Rose Evangelista,
Gianna Feliciano,
Belensa Flasek,
Cameron Flores,
Colby Flores,
Ayana Forshi,
Elijah Fouquet,
Jadelyn Fukunaga, Samantha Gail Galeon,
Melia Garcia,
Jason Gasman Goodman,
Racy Lee Gomes,
Jewel Gonzalez Perea,
Nicole Graham,
Charlie Green,
Keahe Gutierrez,
Dylan Harada Joaquin,
Samuel Harrison Cummings,
Violet Hart,
Callan Hashizaki,
Kelia Hassard,
Keiki Lani Hauoli Kuoha,
Jadelyn Heidenfeld,
Virgil Henry, Bethany Honma,
Brianna Ibbs,
Matthew Ikari,
Kiana Ide,
Brennan Idewe,
Tyler Ignacio,
JC Ikeda,
Kelsey Imai,
Isaac Engel,
Evelyn Yokia Kaahanui,
Shania Itu,
Kayla Iwata,
Alana Jackson,
Jarity James,
Tyler Jeschke,
Jaden Jimbo,
Jessica Jones,
Rico Judah,
Keegan Marcus Julius,
Layli Hull Poi Kawai June,
Alize Kaapana,
Makana Kaehuaia Credo,
Sasha Kaetsu,
Kobe Kagimoto,
Kitana Kaili,
Kiana Keitel,
Trison Kalavai'a, Micah Kaleo,
Chance Kama,
Micah Kama, Zachariah Kamakau Sonoda,
Kaylin Kamali'i,
Asia Kamokuli,
Kiahiloa Kanahele,
Bethany Kanakaole Wang,
Wailana Kane,
Kai Kiao Kane Kalua,
Isaiah Kano,
Adam Kawe,
Kanani Kawe Vieira,
Bailey-Ann Kawakami, Charlie Keao Raymond,
Ayana Kekoalua,
Maluhia Kekuavela,
Nielsen Kia, Ryan Kim,
Megan Kimata,
Chase Kimura.
Connor Kimura.
Tate Kimura.
Sean Kingzio.
Roger Kirkland Obra.
Joshua Kitamura.
Asia Kyojima.
Ian Klegner.
Elijah Kokenbach.
Alexander Kost.
Alyssa Kua.
Cody Kunimitsu.
Rebecca Kurokawa.
Elijah Lax Park.
Uriah Ladra. Meliana Lavatai. Kiani Lee.
Matthew Lee.
Haloa Lee Vincent.
Chanson Netretta.
Amity Lewis.
Saralyn Likiaksa.
Makoa Lantero.
Nainoa Lu.
Nicholas Lucas.
Jalen Lyman Moki.
Jonasi Makwalam.
Madeline Beth Madali.
Aislinn Mandalones.
Iolani Mangoba.
Cedar Mantry. Victoria Martinez.
Essence Matias.
Riley Matsuo.
JD Mayo.
Matthew McBraun.
Connor McCann.
Samson McChesney Gonzalez.
Tatiana Medeiros.
Zavin Menino. Hermione Mikami.
Jennifer Millard.
Cody Min.
Julianne Mine.
Dean Von Mura.
Lacey Ann Moniz.
Malachi Moniz Santos.
Jonathan Moreno.
Alexia Morton.
Kulia Morton.
Colby Moses.
Kelsey Nassis.
Taylor Nagal.
Justin Nakamoto Baltazar.
Caitlin Nakata.
Kobe Namnama.
Morning Glory Navor.
Chelsea Nguyen.
Alexander Matthew Nicholas.
JC Nishimura.
Bailey Ann Nobriga.
Alyssa Nonaka.
Zion Norum.
Madison Norwood.
Makayo Nuesca.
Sason Ochi.
Kiana Oda.
Aiden Oki.
Nathan O'Leary.
Len Olivar.
Colin Olive.
Riku Omata.
Kaylin Ono. AC Oshiro.
Genesis Ota Perry.
Jaden Pacheco,
Jaden Paramata Silva,
Tejaray Palama Isabel,
Christine Palalio,
Kyla Vinette Pascual,
Christian Potteray,
Aiden Pianaya,
Drake Porter,
Drenzen Quidang,
Shaylee Rabong,
Makoa Ramirez,
Aminda Recci,
Ambrose Robinson,
Dominic Rodriguez,
Kalai Rosario,
Jasa Renel Sadornis,
Kaleko Saiki,
Keegan Scanlon,
Jenny Seno,
Maya Ann Sorrell,
Max Shibuya,
Caleb Shimaoka,
Alana Shindi,
Cole Shiroma,
Chance Simeona,
Makaya Zane Simeona,
Keely Smith,
Sean Smith,
Torrance Song Shibata,
Braden Spain,
Jeremy Spain,
Waylon Spain,
Thomas Stevens,
Loden Swain,
Bailey Sweat,
Jewel Tijan,
Jodan Takea Whitney,
Tegan Tamia,
Detongi Talmia,
Edwin Tasaki,
Christian Taylor,
Hunter Taylor, Chloe Teramoto,
Samson Thomas,
Cody Thompson,
Bella Kainoa Tibayan,
Taylor Todd,
Thane Todd,
Naya Tominaga,
Siano Tonga Fuko Fuka,
Dylan Sushia,
Sydney Ueda,
Angel Valeros,
Pohakala Okeolani Van Veen,
Megan Mitchell Vincent,
Jada Victorino,
Brianna Leigh Victorino,
Manasa Vienna,
Safia Villaruz Mawai,
Michelle Vintero,
Angelina Rose Volpe,
Leo Vunadilo,
Sunny Tai Wayik,
Blaze Wakakua,
Keisha Walker,
Thorin Walker,
Seth Walton,
Shanti Witcher,
Prince Williams,
Leilani Wilson,
Ren Wilson,
Jason Wong,
Kayla Wong,
Ariana Wong Yuen,
Jaden Chase Ibanez,
Lindsay Ray Yolwa.
Shayana Young.
Ladies and gentlemen, we proudly present to you Waiakea High School's graduating class of 2020.
At this time, Senior Class President Kira Taylor will present a speech to the class of 2020 and lead them in the tassel changeover.
Aloha, administration, faculty, staff, guests, parents, friends, and my fellow Phoenixes. My name is Kira Taylor, and I am the Senior Class President. The day we have all been waiting for is finally here. We have worked tremendously hard, and it is time to say goodbye to Waiakea High School. Our class has grown so much these past 4 years. We have made unforgettable memories, from our nylon fabric phoenix wings to walking with the new spirit stick in the homecoming parade. When we participated, we did our best to show others who we are. We talked to people who we never thought we would talk to, and we had people who had never participated in events partake in events during our last year of high school. I'd like to thank several people. Thank you to my fellow class officers, Ella, Jalen, and Mia, for being kind, funny, and making fabulous memories during our officer meetings. Thank you to our amazing advisor, Mrs. Yanagisawa, for your endless support and dedication to the class. There were times the class officers and I didn't know what to do, and you were there with us, helping and guiding us on how we should execute the situation. Thank you to all of the teachers who have helped us in the events the past 4 years. We could not have done it without you. Thank you, Phoenixes, for making high school, high school. We have been through historic events such as being born post 9/11 and now graduating during a pandemic. We are unstoppable. Although we are not having a traditional commencement, it is not any less important. We deserve this moment. I hope you all have a clear vision of what you want to do in the future. And if you don't, that's okay, because you will get there. SpongeBob SquarePants once said, "With imagination, you can do anything you want. Do not let failure stop you. Whatever you do it with full effort, love, and compassion." Best of luck in all future endeavors, Phoenixes. One of the time-honored traditions of the graduation ceremony is the tassel changeover. The tassel on each graduate's cap is switched from the right side to the left, where it is closer to the heart. This ritual symbolizes the love the graduates will always feel for their alma mater. I will now lead the class of 2020 in the tassel changeover.
Cool Waiakea is a chant written specifically for Waiakea High School by Waiakea alumni. This chant represents the pride of Waiakea and recognizes the significance of the Waiakea Ahupua'a. This will be performed by seniors Camille Alick, Dakota Brigado Tavares, and Kiahiloha Kanahele. Lyrics are located in the commencement program.
Waiakea pa. O Waiakea kui ka hoaka. Ike one ana po o Waialama. Kaona no hilo I kaua. Kaua kalilehua. Kaua le mahoe anu enue. Le hana kahi ike ala. Me ke o nauna o Panaewa. E o Waiakea kahi o ke hoa. E lau me kia e kahawai hiloe. O Waiakea kui ka hoaka ike one ana po o Waialama e. Kaona no hilo I kaua. Kaua kanile hua e. Kaua le mahoe anu e. Le hana kahi I ke ala me ke ona na o Panaewa e. E o Waiakea kahi o ke koa e lau me ke ai kahawai hilo e ai. E o Waiakea e lau me ke ai kahawai hilo ku.
Please rise and join Genesis, Meliana, and Lindsay once again in singing Waiakea High School's alma mater. The lyrics to the alma mater are located in the commencement program.
When we sing to you, Waiakea High, your name reads far and true, far and true. We stand in pride and loyalty as we sing this song to you. From your mountains high and your waters so broad, our love will never part. Waiakea High, you will always be firmly standing in our hearts. Waiakea High, you will always be firmly standing in our hearts, in our hearts.
This concludes Waiakea High School's production of our 41st annual commencement ceremony. Thank you for joining us this evening. Graduates, we commend you on your perseverance through these unprecedented times and encourage you to look towards your bright future. The best is truly yet to come.
Congratulations once again to the class of 2020.
It goes on and on and on. Remind me of everything tonight. Yes, I'm in the zone. Dreaming about the things that we could be. You already know. That's what tell me when I'm in the spot. Don't believe me, just watch. Is it too late now to say I need a one dance? And then we start to dance and I'm singing like, oh, I want something just like that. Might be over now, but I feel it still. But I always try to feel it. Duh. I want you to be happier because I'm happy. When I'm wiser and it's what you came for. Feels right when I'm in my zone. Doesn't mean I'm over the way that things have been. Wish we could turn back time 10 years older, but look at what you taught me. I want you to stay. I can't forget you. I'm just I love it. Don't let me down. What can I say? You want me covered. Just say are you ready for the rest of my life? I think it might be too much to myself. We've come a long way from where we began. Crazy as there always is. Oh, your magical mystery ride. Come too far and we go back to the start. But if you close your eyes, like nothing changed at all. And if you close your eyes, you'll feel like you've been here before. Come say why. Oh my. Getting, you know I'm all about that dream or a genie or a wish. All about that place much simpler than this. Hey, you know me, Just hold on, go it home. All about that glitz and the glam and the fashion. All about that pandemonium and all the magic.
Ain't nobody else. Turn up, it's your favorite song. Interference I never feel. Dance to the distortion. The way you got me into yourself. Turn up, keep it on repeat. Don't you keep it out to yourself. I just wanna be part of your symphony. I want something just like this. And not let go. You make me feel right. I want something just like this. On the radio. We hold me tight and not let go.
Let's show them we are better.
Alright, alright.
Let's show them we are better.
I love this record, baby.
Let's show them we are better. Let's show them we are better. You say you'll be down in 5. The smell of your perfume is floating down the stairs. You're fixing up your hair like you do. And I know that'll be a mess the second that I see you. But you won't be surprised. It happens every time. It's nothing new. Watching you is all that I can do. I'm speechless. You already know that you're my weakness. After all this time, I'm just as nervous. Every time you walk into the room, I'm speechless. Yeah. Started when you said hello. It just did something to me. And I've been in a daze ever since the day that we met. You take the breath out of my lungs, can't even fight it. With all of the words out of my mouth, not even trying. And always on a night like tonight. I thank God you can read my mind. Cause when you look at me with those eyes, already know that you're my weakness. After all this time, I'm just as nervous. Every time you walk into the room, I'm speechless. Yeah. I'm speechless.
It's been a good time together, looking for the warmth of the sun. Gonna be a long time together,
the best is yet to come. I remember the beginning, we were younger then. Used to play in the scene, we both pretend. But that was then and now, our moments come again. So do we throw it all away? Is this the end? It's been a looking for the one.
Round with the mob.
If it's magic, that will be it. Let's not be afraid to sing our song of love that we've already made. 'Cause it's been a good time together, looking for the warmth of the sun. Gonna be a long time together. The best is yet to come. Together in tomorrow's dream. Strike up the band and play that old familiar theme. Take the lovers by the hand and lead the way. Summer lady by the side.
I'm Titanica Ely. I'm Benjamin Bensel.
My name is Sydney Ueda. I'm Genesis Andrews Tongi.
I'm Kaylin Kurimoto.
I'm Lila Shapiro.
My name is Kobe Kudo.
I'm Kaylin Ono.
I'm Waylon Spain.
I'm Kayla Iwata.
And we are.
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 And we are the class of 2020.